Good evening. Sorry, a few minutes late, a few technical issues going on here at our end, but don't worry about it. I don't want you to lose any sleep, panic, or run around crazy, or start drinking heavily. It's all under control. Welcome to the Open Door Show from Property CEO. My name's Richie Clapson, but I guess you saw that. It says it on the bottom of the screen, and I'm here with the other half of Property CEO, Mr. Ian Child. Do you want to say good evening, Ian?
Good evening, everyone. Good to have you with us.
He's sporting a bit of a decent new haircut today, is our Ian. So put comments about his haircut in the chat box, please. All are welcome, good or bad. Look, it's great to have you with us. Over the next 45 minutes, we're going to be taking, as always, a deep dive into the world of small-scale property development with a little bit of a twist tonight. Isn't that right, Ian?
Certainly is. We're going to be covering some of the latest news in the world of property, and we're going to be talking, as ever, on Open Door to some of the movers and the shakers in the world of property, and hopefully give you a bit of an inside track as to some opportunities that might be out there in the world of property generally, and maybe more specifically in the world of property development.
Good stuff. Look, above all, though, it's important, and this is an important thing tonight, you've got to have fun. Because life's far too short. So please, we're here to have a bit of fun. This webinar is different to many others out there. It's 45 minutes, bit of amusement, a few golden nuggets. I'm going to laugh in the evening, just set you up for the rest of your evening. So please, of course, though, put questions in the chat box. It is a question and answer show. We do have a guest tonight, and Ian will tell us who that is in just a minute. So please put questions in the chat box. Of course, no questions, we won't have much of a show, and it'll just be Ian and I rabbiting on with our guest, and you won't enjoy that. So Ian, what are we up to this evening?
Well, tonight we're joined by none other than the queen of social housing herself, Sue Sims. So technically, we've got royalty on the show. Sue has been in property for 30 odd years, and during that time has built up a significant portfolio, buy-to-lets, HMOs, and service accommodation. And she's also co-founder of the property networking organisation, Partners in Property, and she's going to be sharing her passion and knowledge on the social housing buy-to-let model, as well as explaining how it compares to other strategies. And I'm sure we'll be having a few questions about development in that sector as well. So very much looking forward to hearing from Sue.
Good stuff, queen of social housing. Who'd have known? Anyway, who's on this evening? Well, look, I mean, we've got to start with Ranjit. Ranjit's on from Property Investor News. He likes us to give a completely free shout out for him, but we don't want to do that, so I'm not going to mention Property Investor News at any time during the show. Although Ranjit says in the chat box he was going to miss tonight's webinar because he's got over 100 books to read. We sent him 100 of our books. So actually, if you haven't signed up to Property Investor News, and it's a great read, occasionally actually you might read a bit of what I've said in there, which might be a load of old trash, but have a look. Ranjit might actually give you a free book as well. So have a think about that. It could be a good book, could be one of ours. So there we go. Anyway, who else is on? Let's have a look. People still joining. It's great. Rory O'Mara's on. Hello. I shouldn't have said the surname, should I? But there we go. He's been a guest of ours, so that doesn't matter. Jin's on. Nikki's on. Simon's on. Makita's on. Who else is on? Baz is on. Hello, Baz. Nemily's on. Good evening to you. Met you just the other day. Cecilia's on. Ramika's on. Sam's on. Hello, Sam. A's on. Someone called A. That's not a bad name, is it? Joanne's on. Jitin's on. Timothy's on. Sophie's on. Patrick's on. Malcolm's on. Hello, Malcolm. How are you this evening? Hope you are well. And Jimmy's on. And Jenny's on. Hello, Jenny. Good to see you as well. Lots of people are on, and people say hello, chaps, in the chat box, says Rory. I'm not going to say what Rory's surname is. I just put that out there. Jenny says good evening from Roman and Jenny. And look at that, it's 2 for 1. That can't be bad. Cecilia says thank you and see some haircut. Good to see some haircut. Okay, what about my haircut? My hair looks nice, even though I've not trimmed it. I think it's quite good. Do you not think so?
Did you change the style?
No, I'm changing style. It's what it is. It's always been bold through the middle. Anyway, Amit says, happy to connect with property investors and assist with your funding requirements. Blimey, there's an investor on here, put his details on it. Charlotte's on, Jackie's on. Jackie says, good evening, great to be on the show. Looking forward to listening to Sue. All right, we'll get there in just a minute. And Liam's on, and he also says, great guest this evening, can't wait. Ian, we've got a bit of news, just do a couple of news items, and then we can perhaps see if Sue's available to join us.
Couple of news items. Okay, well, very quickly, I've got 3. So let's start with this one. The Department of Levelling Up Housing and something else has announced that they're going to got some more loans for developers, £624 million worth, to help deliver 116,000 new homes. And the prioritisation for this money is going to be given to small and medium-sized builders. specifically for brownfield development, diversification and innovation in the housing market. So probably lots of forms to be filled in. Don't necessarily need to do that if you know where to get the funding from, but it is out there. There seems to be a bit of a lack of detail as to exactly when that's going to hit the market, but that's what they've announced. There's been quite a long running saga about the tulip, if anybody knows what the tulip is, which is there's going to be another significant sort of feature building that was going to adorn London's skyline. It was going to be built next to the Gherkin, so you got the tulip and the Gherkin, and it was rejected by the Mayor of London a while back, and it's been rejected again. So no tulips with a viewing platform, rotating pods, restaurant, bar, education, community facility, ground floor retail unit. You're going to have to give that a miss and make do with what's there already, although I'm sure they will appeal. And then my favorite one of the week was this one, an accountant who is under threat of imprisonment after building what has been described as Britain's biggest man cave. And he's been described as his breach of planning control is entirely the author of his own misfortune. So basically, he spent apparently £1 million building a largely subterranean sports building, but apparently it's still an eyesore. It's got a gym, 10-pin bowling alley, casino bar, children's play area, and he thought he had permitted development for it, which I hadn't seen that actually, but it turns out nor had the council. And it's going to cost him £750,000 to put it right. He was given 18 months to sort it out, but didn't bother. So now it looks like they're taking him to court to go to jail. So yeah, interesting planning story, that one. But it sounded a bit like your place, actually, Rich.
Well, I was hoping that wasn't our accountant. We had lunch with our accountant today, and he's a developer as well. So hopefully that's not him. Excellent. Thank you for the news, Ian. Just a quick one. Give us a hands up if you can see and hear us, please. Give us a hands up. Give us a wave. Just be useful. That's good, because I just noticed a few people have lost a bit of sound. If you're struggling with sound, I know this is not going to be a good suggestion, but you might have to turn the camera off so you can't see us, okay? And just listen to the sound. I know you're going to struggle with that, but just look at a picture of us on the website later. That'll send you off to sleep. Okay, good stuff. Well, let's see if our guest is going to be available. So we've got the wonderful Sue Sims. I didn't know she was a queen, but there we go, Queen of Social Housing. Who'd have known? Well, I do believe that Sue did her first property deal roughly at the age of 21. So, you know, she's obviously 10, 15 years into her journey now. That's a little bit of a compliment there, just to build her up a little bit. You know, and I believe that was a mixed use scheme, maybe a shop with some residential. She'd tell us a bit about that. I've met Sue through a wonderful organisation, Founders, and she was the founder of Partners in Property, which is a great networking event. I'm sure she'll promote that when she comes on, and she's got a letting agency and she does lots of things in social housing. Few technical issues. So Sue is only joining us with sound this evening, so you can't see Sue, but hopefully you can hear us. So Sue, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. So let me just check if the audience can. Could you all hear Sue? Give us a wave if you can hear Sue. Lots of waves coming on, so they can all hear you, Sue. And so those that can't see Sue, probably the best thing to do is if you Google Sue Sims, Partners in Property, and you better find some images of Sue, put that as a static image on your screen next to the sound, and then you'll have the full experience. What do you think, Sue? That'll work for them, won't it?
Yeah, definitely it'll work.
Good stuff. So
I'm happy with that.
Welcome to the show. Did you like that little thing I did there about you starting at the age of 21, so you're 10 to 15 years in property now?
I did, absolutely. Richie, you know how much I always love talking to you. I just don't have quite the same banter that you will get with Adam.
Adam Lawrence, that is. For those that don't know, it's Adam Lawrence, who I completely dislike, and he dislikes me, but we tend to get on and have a bit of banter. So why not? It's a bit of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good fun and good-hearted.
Good stuff. No, we do get on very well. So look, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show, talking all about social housing. I'm sure, well, I can see questions coming in now. So please, anyone got any questions about social housing, pop them in the chat box and we'll do our best to get through as many as we can. Sue, can you give us a bit of overview of who is Sue Sims then? What does she do in her world, and where is she? How's she got to where she is now? Can you do that, a sort of five minutes or so introduction?
Yep, I'll try and keep it brief. So as Richie already said, I bought my first property when I was 21. I'm very, very fortunate that my dad had always been really forward thinking and very, very supportive of both me and my sister. And when I was 21, he said to me, I found a shop with a flat above and I just think that would be really good for you to go and invest in. So I went to see a bank manager. Dad's bank manager said, yes, it's fine, we'll loan you the money, but Dad would have had to be the guarantor. So I went to see bank manager at Midland Bank, and he listened to what I had to say, and fortunately he said yes, we could have the money. So that was when I started. Jumping forwards sort of like 30 years, that shop with the flat above is now where I run my business, Genie Homes. So it's really weird that sort of like I set up my lettings business about 6 years ago, and I needed a premises, and that shop in the 30 years that I'd owned it had never ever been empty, but it had been empty for the previous 6 months. So I just sometimes think things are meant to be, and if I've got to pay rent to anyone, I may as well pay rent to me and my sister. And then in between, in that 30 years, I sort of like I've built up a portfolio of 40 plus properties. We've got 2 and 3 bedroom houses and flats. We've got some 4-bedroom houses that are leased for social housing. I've got a 5-bed HMO, and I've got 4 serviced accommodation apartments. So it's a real cross section and sort of like diversification in terms of the different sort of like strategies of what you can do with property, which I think is always, for me, I just think it's really important that you don't put all your eggs in one basket and you've just got one thing, because if that stops working, you've then got to sort of like scrabble around to find something different. So we set up Partners in Property about 4 years ago, and Genie Homes, which is my lettings business, again, we set that up about 4 years ago.
So what's the Partners in Property? I mean, just let's give it a plug, because you know, it's one of the groups that I support and speak at. Just tell us what the difference is with Partners in Property compared to other networking groups out there.
We don't have a sales funnel, and we're a daytime meeting. So the people that tend to come to our meetings are people who are already doing stuff in property. They're not the dreamers. They're not the people that are thinking it's what they want to do. It's the people that are actually getting on and doing it. It's a daytime meet, so obviously it attracts people that are already in property full time. And when Adam and I set it up, the premise behind it was we were fed up of going along to other network meets, evening meetings, where we would always tend to be the most experienced people in the room. And we wanted something where we weren't going to be the most experienced. And we also wanted to be able to say to people, look, this isn't the beginning of a sales funnel. Come to sort of like a day meet, and at the same time, we'll tell you to run to the back of the room. And if you do that, we'll only charge you 20p for a course that would normally cost you 10,000. Sorry, I know that's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's how I feel.
Do you know, I have been at one of your events, and I hate to contradict, but I did actually run to the back of the room once. So that's because lunch was being served, and I thought I'd get into the queue.
Exactly. And actually, Richie, people do run to the back of the room when you're running a mastermind table and you're giving away your books to the people that are going to come on your table.
Don't give away books. Don't start putting that out there, because next time I run a mastermind table, people will want books. So just for the record, no more free books. It's just not going to happen anymore. Or not, who knows. Excellent. So look, thanks for that introduction. What we'll do, we'll ask you at the end for some contact details to get hold of you if people want to, or Partners in Property or Genie Lettings, and we'll put those in the show notes as well. So are you ready to take a few questions, Sue?
Yep, absolutely.
Good stuff. Okay, so Ian, do you want to kick off? We've got a question in the list that we can throw at Sue. Let's see how difficult it gets.
Have a look. We've got one here from Robbie. Good evening, Robbie. Robbie asks, evening, Sue. Do you think as developers, we could think about selling out to social housing providers, say the whole or part schemes?
Potentially, yes. The providers that I work with are much more sort of like low level. They're just purely and simply looking at leasing property. But I think that if you're looking at doing a development and you want to sell it out, then you're probably going to be looking at selling to a hedge fund or something like that, where they will be able to buy that, and then they will put the long-term lease into it. Yeah. But that's not something that I have a lot of experience in. My experience in social housing is more of the straightforward. I've got an investor who's got a property, and I've got a social housing provider that needs a property to put homeless people into.
So Sue, how did you get into this, to the social housing, and why did you go into social housing as opposed to private tenants?
So within my lettings business, sort of like 4 or 5 years ago, we had a landlord who'd got a 5-bed HMO that was generally a student let, but he missed the academic year. So we were advertising it on Rightmove, and I had a social housing provider who rang me to say, would that landlord be interested in a 3-year lease, almost as good as a sort of like a fully repairing lease as you are going to get on a residential property. And we'll also sort of like within the lease make sure we give the property back in the same condition that we took it on. And that was the first time that I'd really been exposed to the benefits in a way of social housing, and that worked. And they pay a good rate because it's an HMO. They're going to put 4 or 5 individuals in there that are currently homeless. So from an ethical standpoint, it sort of like fits what I like to do because it's helping people that are less well off than we are. The social housing provider will take on all the bills and the maintenance for the HMO. So again, it's almost like with social housing is what I call very much, it's like a hybrid model, because it works as a buy-to-let in as much as your rent is being paid once a month in full, and the social housing provider is paying all of the bills exactly the same as buy-to-let, but generally it's an HMO because they're going to have individuals that are living in there that are not related, so effectively it becomes an HMO, so it has to be compliant. And
I guess that you like that certainty of you know, the rent is guaranteed that it's going to get paid. You've got a deal.
Absolutely. So once we'd done that first one, I think that same company then took another 2 properties. So we did that with 3 properties with the one landlord. And then I thought, I quite like the sound of this. I'm going to try and do it with some of my own properties in my own portfolio. And then once I knew that it absolutely worked, that was then when I started talking to other investors who invest in Birmingham, other landlords who were using Genie Homes, and we've rolled it out. And we probably manage now about 120 properties that are leased to various social housing providers in Birmingham.
Wow, I like it. I like it. Can I follow up then with a question from Kathy? Kathy says, so good evening, Kathy. Welcome to the show. She says, is it difficult to find out who in the local authority is responsible for social housing, and how would I go about that?
Well, first of all, I would never ever work with the councils. The only landlords that I've ever worked with who have leased a property direct to the council have usually come back to me with bad stories, because the landlords the councils tend to just want to get somebody off their housing list. They might say, yes, we'll support you, but you end up with a potential tenant who doesn't pay the rent, they don't do the maintenance, and you can generally just have issues with it. So what I would say in the first instance, make Google your best friend and Google things like social housing provider, housing association, supported living company, assisted living company, care provider, and then literally get on the phone, ring those companies and find out whether or not they lease properties from individual landlords. And there's no shortcuts, there's no easy way to do it. You've got to put the hard work in. If you put the hard work in, you will get results. Richie, I think you know probably one of our London members, one of the Partners in Property London members who invests in the Southeast. Over a period of 6 months, he made between 400 and 500 phone calls and ended up with 5 providers that he can work with. So he put the effort in, did the hard work, and now when he gets one of his properties that become available or he buys a property, he knows up front who his end user is going to be, because he's got those 5 companies and he knows what their requirements will be.
And so you're talking here about the advantage you see is going to these organisations, these private organisations, you say social housing providers in all sorts of shapes or form, not the local authority. You just don't like the local authority route.
No, absolutely.
Great stuff. Kathy, there's your answer. Not the answer you're possibly expecting, but I think a great one. And the key there is put the effort in. What have we got next, Ian?
I got one here from Sophie. Good evening, Sophie. She asks, can anyone get into social housing, or do you have to have experience with buy-to-lets?
It depends on what she actually means that she wants to do by get into social housing. Sophie, I don't know if you're listening, if you can sort of like come back on this. So are you looking at being able to do sort of like a rent to rent, and that you as the rent to renter can lease the property to the social housing provider? Are you looking to buy a property, convert it into an HMO, so you'll have individuals living in that property via a social housing provider, so they will do all the care and the support for the people that are living there? Do you want to provide homes for homeless families? So I think I just need to understand a little bit more about what your question is. But the one thing I would probably say, and what I have never wanted to get involved with, and I've been asked on lots and lots of occasions, and that is, why don't I become a social housing provider myself? Because obviously I've got the contacts with landlords that would give me property, but Genie Homes is an HMO managing agent, and we manage about 400, what I would say is like normal HMO rooms where you've got working people. We have enough challenges managing people that are going out to work. There's 5 or 6 of them living in an HMO and keeping everybody happy. If you then have an HMO that is being lived in by 5 or 6 people who have been homeless, I could probably say those challenges I'm going to multiply by 100. So there is absolutely no way on this earth that I would want to become that person that has then got to look after those issues.
Understood. Well, Sophie's just come back and said that, yep, she's looking to buy a property, turn it into an HMO, but she's just starting out. So I guess the question is that kind of HMO strategy for a first-time buy-to-letter, is the social housing market one that the first-timer could go for?
Potentially, but it brings up a really good point, which is, can you get funding as a first-time buyer for a property that is going to be leased to a social housing provider with vulnerable tenants? The lending pool of lenders that are happy generally to lend on properties that are leased to social housing providers is very, very small. And some of those lenders do ask for previous experience as a landlord. So what I would say on that is that, Sophie, you probably need to make sure that the broker that you're going to work with is a broker who absolutely understands the social housing market and he knows which lenders to go to. If you're working with a broker that is what I would say is like a vanilla broker who might be great at buy-to-let, might be great at residential, when you speak to that broker, ask them how many mortgages have they underwritten with lenders where the end user is going to be a social housing provider. And if they come back to you and say, oh, maybe 1 or 2, that's not the broker that you need to use if you want to go into social housing.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sue. Sophie, I hope that answered your question. Richie.
Okay, Nikki. Nikki says, good evening, Nikki. She says, do you get it back? I'm assuming that's the house. Do you get it back in the same condition as it was given? What do you say to that, Sue?
Yes, but that's because I'm really tough in terms of what I've negotiated into the lease in the first instance. So as far as I'm concerned, it's really important that when you set up these leases at the beginning, that is a point that you would cover, that you want the house back in the same condition that it was given over.
Nikki, there you are. It's down to the word, get the lease sorted. And I guess as well, you start with that position that all these agencies, housing associations you deal with know that that's what you expect. If they want to work with you, that's what you expect. I guess you set your stall out at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing as well, that as far as I'm concerned is really important, and lots of people miss out, is, and I get asked all the time, why have I got to pay your management fees when this is supposed to be a fully repairing lease and they do all the maintenance? I'm saying to those investors that are working with us, you are paying me to be your eyes on your property, and we will go in once a quarter and inspect the property to make sure that that maintenance is being done. It frightens me and scares me quite a lot when I will have people come to me and they go, oh yeah, I've signed a lease with a property and I don't have to see it for the next 5 years. That is probably your biggest asset. It's got more money tied up in it than anything else, and you are going to give a set of keys to a random company you might have had no work with or history with, and you're not going to go and look at that property for the next 5 years. And I just don't understand it.
Calm down. Don't get yourself wound up over it. It's going to be okay.
It is, because we go in every 3 months to make sure it's okay.
Excellent.
Good stuff. Well, look, Nikki, I mean, I didn't know that question was really going to get Sue on a right old rant there, but you got your answer, and you got a bit more besides. Ian, what's next?
We've got a couple of questions about developing pubs, Rich, if you want to go as well.
No, I'll be right for a right rant. If you lot want to develop pubs, I tell you what, I'll be around to sort you out. I'm not a violent person, but I tell you what, if you start going down that road, it's not going to work. Ian, what's the question? Let's get off of the subject.
Right. The next question is from Dan. Good evening, Dan. Evening, Sue. Great to have you on the show. Quick question. Does the social housing provider also help you with obtaining an HMO license, and is a license required?
Good question.
It is a good question, and it's an answer that will have two different answers. Which is, it depends. So it depends on whether or not you're talking about exempt supported accommodation, where the property stays within the property stays as a C3C HMO within the planning classification, and in which case it is exempt from HMO licensing. So, but it still needs to be HMO compliant. Or if it's a C4 HMO, then absolutely it will need an HMO license. And the difference being between the two, for those people who don't know, C3C is obviously staying within that C3 residential classification. It's where the people who are living in that property are provided with an element of care and support by the company who is leasing the property. If you have somebody like Clear Springs or Mia's, where they are housing asylum seekers, that will generally need an HMO license because they do not provide any care or support, and it becomes a C4 HMO. So again, this is very, very relevant if you invest in an area that is Article 4. So Birmingham went Article 4 last year, and we've had an absolute proliferation now of social housing HMOs spring up because they're exempt from Article 4, which has meant it hasn't really helped Birmingham City Council achieve what it wanted to achieve, which was to stop the stock of family homes being turned into HMOs. It's just created a bigger problem, because in some areas now in Birmingham where they haven't got the right social housing providers in place, there's a huge amount of antisocial behaviour, there's drug dealing, there's all the bad stuff that you hear about social housing. So Birmingham City Council have just sort of like made everything a lot more difficult for themselves.
Interesting. Now, thank you. So can I just ask a question, sort of follow up to that really, which is there a particular, if you're going to be creating an HMO for that market, for the social housing market, are there some particular sort of layouts or design cues or whatever it is that are going to be very specific to social housing in terms of the way you set up the property?
No, it's exactly the same as any other HMO. But again, it's sort of like coming back to that first question, which is, how do I find the providers? It's like, go and find the provider, find out what their requirements are, and then go and find a property that will meet their requirements. Because it's very difficult. For example, if you've gone out and you've bought a property and you've converted it into a 6-bed, 2-bathroom HMO, and then the company that you talk to say, that's great, but we wanted all ensuite rooms. Because again, it can have less detrimental effect on the people that are living there. So I think it's really important that you find your provider first, so you can then develop to what their requirements are.
Build to order. No, it makes perfect sense. Sue, thank you very much. Richie.
Okay, well, there's a question here. Let's pick this one up because it followed on. We talked about asylum seekers, and Amit says, so good evening, Amit. He says, hi, Sue. Do you house any refugees in your portfolios? If so, where would you start if someone wanted to go down this route? So do you house refugees, and do you know about how people could start in that area?
Yes, I do have. I don't have any individual refugees in my properties, but I do have refugee families. But there are organisations that have government contracts to actually house the asylum seekers. Yep. So you would need to make contact with those organisations that have the contract via the government. I don't think it's something that you as an individual could just decide, oh, I want to help an Afghan family that's coming over here, and that you could just go out and do it. Now, it comes back to the question about the councils. There are a lot of councils at the moment that are taking in, particularly families from Afghanistan, and the council are paying almost like a sign-up bonus to the landlords to say, if you sign up with us and you take one of these families, we'll ensure that they pay the rent, and we will pay that rent for the first 12 months while that family is getting settled in. You'll have that sort of like sign-on bonus, but at the end of that 12 months, the council hands that tenant across to you. And at which point then you have got a family potentially living in your property that doesn't speak English, that doesn't understand the customs, that isn't necessarily going to be 100% familiar with all the benefits system. So if you feel that you are capable of really providing a lot of support to that tenant to make sure that you're going to get your rent paid, I would probably say that even if you are a very caring person and that in essence it's something that you want to do, I think the practicalities of it are very difficult.
Good. That's a good point. I think I mean a lot of us do things to an extent in business because we like to help people. I mean, you know, I retired 10 years ago, and I do what I do at propertyCEO, training people because we do like to help people. But I think, yeah, you've got to make it commercial as well. And you're right. So I think that's some good straight talking advice. Whilst you might want to do it, if it's really tough, you've got to know what you're opening up the door for.
I think the way that you can do it if you want to is you need to find those organisations that have got the government contracts, and then you need to work with them.
Good stuff. Yeah, what's next?
I've got one here from Nadia, who asks, do you think there is more trouble with social housing tenants than private tenants?
Okay, so it depends on what your classification of a social housing tenant is. So for me, my tenant is the social housing provider. It's the company. And I have no problem whatsoever. They pay my rent on time every month. I have no worries at all through all of lockdown. My rents came in every single month. I go to my properties. I know they're being maintained. They're doing everything that they should be doing. That's my experience and my interpretation. If you are talking about social housing tenants being a family who is on benefits or a single mum with children, that's something totally different, because then there may be more issues, particularly now that universal credit has come in. I used to be a really big supporter of having single mums in my properties, as long as they've got a guarantor, because generally those mums were able to manage their money because they knew every single week they'd get child benefit, they'd get child tax credit, they'd get ESA, they'd get the housing benefit, and there was money dripping into the household every single week. When that changed to universal credit and they get a payment that's just paid once a month because they're supposed to be helping them to get into a situation of going back to work where you're going to get paid once a month, I think it's very difficult for some of those people, not all of them, but it's very difficult for them to actually budget. Because if you've got 3 children and you've got to pay your rent once a month, what happens when your washing machine breaks down and you've got the kids' school uniform to get cleaned? Are you going to save your rent money because you're going to think, I've got to pay the landlord, and you're going to go out and buy your new washing machine? And I think it's things like that that make me a lot more cautious about who we will look at potentially. So the answer to that question again is almost like it depends on who your actual tenant is.
Understood. And so the big advantage is that you're dealing with a company and they're paying the bills regardless. So Nadia, I hope that answers your question. Richie.
Okay, Rimsha, good evening. She says, great to see Sue tonight. Well, you can't see her, but I think I know what you mean. She says, can we sell? I think we started with a bit of a thing around this. She says, can we sell units to social housing providers? I don't really want to hold property, and I like the idea of selling out the units that I build to an organisation rather than open market. So what's your, I know that's not necessarily something you would do, Sue, but what would your knowledge of who could we sell as a developer the units to, so that they are part of a social housing provider? Do any of these organisations buy these units ever?
Right, the ones that I work with in Birmingham don't, because they're almost sort of like second tier, if that makes sense. So top tier is your RSL, your registered social landlord or your registered provider, and they have it's a bit technical, so I'll try to explain it simply. The companies then that I work with sit on that platform of the RSL, and basically the RSL is licensing that company to be able to be paid the housing benefit, the social services, and the money to be able to house those people. So it may be that the registered social landlords may potentially be interested, but again, I don't think they particularly hold property. But I certainly think that it would be a case of, if you can get a social housing landlord potentially to put a long-term 25-year lease on a few properties, so it becomes a certain value, you would then have a hedge fund who would be potentially interested in something where there is a long lease in place.
Yeah, good. Well, that's good. And Rimsha, I do know that there are some, as Sue said, maybe top table social housing providers that will purchase schemes. And so it's a matter of getting out there and trying to find them, as always, in your area. But there are some organisations that will look to do that and buy those properties off you, and you build them to their specification. And there's all sorts of other things as well. So I know of a student of ours, Rimsha, who basically was providing some properties, building some properties to specification for an organisation, and I think they're a private organisation funded by the local authority, that were actually housing vulnerable teenagers, and they were paying a premium for the properties over the open market valuation. So I guess again, it's like Sue said, you've got to get out there and really start to look for things. Ian, what have we got next? We got another question there?
We have got one here from Liam. Good evening, Liam. Liam asks, what is your view, Sue? This is crystal ball time, by the way. What is your view on the residential market for 2022? Do you think house prices will go up by much? What do you reckon, Sue?
Who
Won't hold you to it.
It's not often that I don't have an answer.
I thought you'd done.
Yeah, it's not often I don't have an answer, and that's one that I really don't have an answer to. It's like when I look back, and if I look back sort of like historically, when everybody started talking about Brexit and saying, I'm going to wait until Brexit happens and the prices are going to drop, and the prices have never dropped, I always think you can try and predict what's going to happen in the future. But for me, if I'm going to buy property, it's all about, does the numbers work on what that deal is today? And if the numbers work on what the deal is today, that's all that's important. Because I buy to hold, it doesn't matter if next year the prices drop, because if I'm still going to have it in 10 years' time, property is cyclical, those prices will go back up again. And so long as my rent that is coming in will more than pay the mortgage, pay the tax man, pay all the maintenance, it doesn't actually matter.
Fantastic. Good answer. That makes
There
a
you
lot
go.
of sense.
There's Sue Sims' predictions for house prices in 2022. The lady that's never lost for words was lost for words for about 5 seconds and then basically gave an answer on something completely different. But I think that was a good answer, Sue. I think that was a good answer.
Well, there's certainly a lot of people talking up the market for 2022. Most of those are actually people that are trying to sell houses, so no massive surprise. But yeah, the last few months have seen quite a lot of some interesting statistics come through, and of course we've sort of gone through the stamp duty sort of holiday phase now, so it'll be interesting to see what comes out the back end. But certainly a lot of the media is talking about some the values of houses and the demand is just getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're seeing in Birmingham. The prices in Birmingham have literally just gone through the roof, and the stock is diminishing. So it just comes back to economics and supply and demand, doesn't it, at the end of the day?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Sue.
Good
Liam,
stuff.
I hope that answered your question.
A couple of questions here, 2 questions, both the same question. Jenny says, hi Sue, have you any experience working with large organisations like Serco? And Amo says, what is your experience of Serco as a social housing provider? Have you worked with Serco at all, Sue?
Yeah, we lease about 20 houses to Serco. And yeah, I'm very happy working with them. You have no negotiation skills. Their leases are their leases. You can't change the terms of the leases. So long as you are happy to accept everything that is in the lease, then it's fine. Houses have to be completely compliant. And yeah, I don't have any issues, and we will still go in and do quarterly inspections. So you may have seen there has been bad press about Serco, about Mears, about Clear Springs. Those are sort of like the 3 major companies that do a lot with the asylum seekers, and there has been bad press that they don't look after the properties don't get maintained. But actually, if as a landlord you haven't gone into that property and checked it out, it's your own fault. So the properties we go into every 3 months, we will then, if there was a problem with a Serco property, for example, we'd then send them an email to literally say, this is everything that is now not compliant. If it's minor stuff, we'd go back in the next 3 months. If it's more major, we'd be going back in a month to check it out. So that's all I would say. If anybody's thinking that they want to work with Serco, the same as any other housing provider, don't think it's passive and you can just pass your keys over for the next 5 years and you don't have to have anything to do with it. Property is always, and I know I'm getting on my high horse, property always needs you to have some input.
Good stuff. So we're pretty much running out of time, but can you just give me a quick sum up advantage of working in social housing? Give us a couple of points of what you think is the advantage.
You're being paid by a company, so you don't have to worry about the family that are living in the property. Are they going to lose their job? How are they going to pay the rent? It gets paid. The maintenance is all covered, like internal maintenance, structure of the building and the boiler still stays with the landlord, but so it gets rid of a lot of that sort of like maintenance stuff that you're always having to spend money on. They're longer leases, so you can plan because you don't have to worry then about what your voids are going to be. 2 downsides, I know you didn't ask me for that. 1, you have to make sure you've got the correct insurance, and the insurance might be more expensive than if you've just got a normal family living in the property or it's a working HMO. And as I said before, the pool of lenders is very, very much restricted. But as far as I'm concerned, the benefits massively outweigh the negatives.
Brilliant. There you go. Look, you've heard it, the good and bad of social housing. Sue, if people want to get hold of you, what's the best contact details?
Probably to drop me an email, which is sue.sims, and it's Sims with 1 M, at genie-homes.co.uk, or Facebook Messenger. Again, I'm just on there as Sue Sims. That's probably the easiest way of getting hold of me.
And if people are interested in Partners and Property, which are events all around the country, and I would definitely recommend, they're well worth the visit. How do people get into that? What's the website? And can they attend anything for free, or as a starter, what's the deal?
Free? What's free?
Well, you said we give away free books, so I thought I'd throw it back at you.
Hit a nerve there.
So we've got meetings in London, Birmingham, Manchester, Southampton and Bristol. They're once a month. If you want to come and try us out, you can join membership for 2 months, where you get your first month half price and your second month is free of charge. There's no contract. It's not like a gym. You just keep paying us until you decide you don't want to. And you can join via the website. And the website is partners-property.com. And if you use my email address, that will give you that special offer of your first month half price and the second month free of charge.
There you go. Look, I told you something for free. And I can definitely tell you, I've met Adam Lawrence, and it's definitely not like a gym. It's definitely not like a gym, because he's not been using it as a gym, that's for sure. Bum, bum. So,
and on that note, Richie.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think we're wrapping up. Can you let him know? Are you with him this evening? I believe you're up in London before a show, so for one of your events. So if you are with him, just tell him that I cracked that joke, and I even laughed myself at it.
I will.
Good stuff.
I'm seeing Adam for drinks later.
Good stuff. Well, send him a drink from me. Can you just let our team know your best contact details? If you drop those through to someone at our end, they'll be in contact with you, and we'll put Sue's details in the show notes, and so you can connect up with her. So Sue, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure. Let's just see. Give us a hands up if you like Sue Sims this evening. If you like Sue, yeah, I mean, Sue, there's 3 hands gone up, so that's 3 people that liked you. Oh no, there is a lot more. They're all going up and down. They're all going up and down. Great stuff. And they're even typing yes in the chat box. Well done, Sue. Brilliant session. Thank you so much. Sue, thank you very much. You go and enjoy a drink with Mr. Lawrence. Send him my best, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, you.
Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Sue. Wow, that was good, wasn't it?
Wasn't that good? Social housing, all you needed to know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are we off air now?
No, we're not off air, Sue. We're still on air, but you're off air because you should have gone. But it's okay, Sue. We're just wrapping up the show. I'll let you know when we're off air, Sue. So Sue's now been muted, and if she hasn't switched her phone, her connection off. Anyway, look, folks. Hopefully you've enjoyed the show. Please pop in the chat box if you have. We do like to see people's comments. If you have enjoyed the show, put it in the chat box. We put this show on for you. Those that are brand new to us, if you are interested, I'll put it in the chat box and send it out to you all now. If you're interested to come on a free session with us, learn a bit about property development, then a link I'm going to put in the chat box. Equally, you can write this down, propertyceo.co.uk/SFR. That will be put in the chat box, sent to you all now, but it's propertyceo.co.uk/SFR, and you can come and actually join us for free. Lots of free things going on this evening. Next week's show, Thursday the 18th at 7 p.m, normal times. I hope to see you there. What do we got? Ranjit says, Ranjit Property Investor News, by the way. He says, wow, another great show, boys, and a special guest, Sue Sims. Brilliant. Thanks, Sue, says Sophie. Great stuff, says Tony. Rory says, very funny, chaps. Excellent. Yeah, I thought it was funny. I thought I enjoyed it this evening. Dan says, great show, thanks. Ramika says, great show. Amit says, thanks to Richie and Ian and our very own Chuckle Brothers. Oh, thanks, Amit. That's very kind of you. I'm sure that's a compliment. Yoko says, thank you, Richie and Ian. Great session again. And Sue is brilliant. Adir says, loved it as always. See you next week. Adir, see you and everyone else next week. Goodbye for now.
Take care, bye.